Hello, this is James Faulkner from Red Hat Technical Product Marketing, and today I'm going to show you how to deploy JBoss Enterprise Application Platform, or EAP, on Red Hat Enterprise Linux, or RHEL, to Azure through the new Azure Marketplace offer. With this offer, EAP can be deployed as a standalone server based on Azure VMs, a clustered set of services also on VMs, or an auto-scaled and clustered service based on Azure Virtual Machine Scale Sets, or VMSS. This provides a lot of flexibility and control to set up EAP and integrate it into your existing Azure environments. You also have pay-as-you-go and bring your own subscription options for RHEL, while EAP requires an EAP subscription from Red Hat. For the BYOS options, your Red Hat products must also be enabled through Red Hat Cloud Access. Let's get started. So here we are on the Microsoft Azure portal, and the first step is to install EAP itself. So to do that, I'll click Create a Resource, and I'll search the marketplace for EAP on RHEL, and it should be the first one here. I'll click on it, and that takes me to the overview page for the offer with some information and some screenshots. I'll just go ahead and click Get It Now. Now here I can choose which plan I want. You'll remember we talked about having standalone VMSS and clustered options. I'll just go with the BYOS standalone for now, and I'll click Continue. Now we step through a few pages here and enter some information. So the first thing I'll do is create a new resource group. I'll call it EAP Demo, and I'll put it in the East US region. Give it a clever name of my VM name for the VM. The RHEL admin here is RHEL admin. And I'll use a super secret password, which I will copy and paste into the fields here. And the next screen is for VM. You can choose VM sizes. You can also alter the network configuration. Turn boot diagnostics on or off. I'll leave that on for now just in case. And then we'll go to the EAP settings. Here we can create an EAP admin user called EAP admin, give him a password, and then I type in my Red Hat or my Red Hat subscription manager along with the password. And then finally, the Red Hat Subscription Manager pool ID with the EAP and, in this case, RHEL entitlements as well. I'll copy and paste that in from my Red Hat account. And I'll click Next. Now on the final screen, it just gives me the information I typed in, and I can confirm it. And I'll just go ahead and click Create. We'll wait for that to finish. It'll take 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, my deployment is complete. I'll go ahead and go to the resource group. Now, by default, these EAP instances are not exposed to the internet. Since I'm using the standalone mode, I can simply add a public IP address and add a couple of rules to the network security group to expose that to the internet, so we can go ahead and test that. So I will do that now. Now notice I've added 2 ports here, 8080 for the default web port for EAP and 9990 for the management port, which we'll be using in a moment. And then I'll also associate this new public IP address with my virtual machine, the network interface on the virtual machine. Okay, with my EAP server now exposed, I should be able to take this name and copy it into my URL and get my EAP welcome page up and running. So it looks like it appears to be up and running. You can also click on the administration console. I'll log in with the EAP admin, which is the same user I specified when I was deploying. And I can get to my EAP admin console as well. So in the next step, we'll add a Postgres database, which we'll be using for an application that we deploy to our EAP instance. So I'll go ahead and add that to my resource group using add, and then recently created Azure Database for PostgreSQL. Just use the default settings here and make sure that we'll give it a server name, and we'll make sure it's in the East US location, the same as our EAP server, and give it an admin, simple admin username here and password. And then we should be good to go. Okay, the Postgres database is created, and we'll need to go ahead and log in and create an actual database inside this instance for our application to use. So I'll use the Cloud Shell here to log in using the PSQL command, and then create a simple database called CoolStore. Okay, with our database deployed and our EAP deployed, we're ready to deploy our application. Now we can deploy applications to EAP using a number of different ways with Maven plugins. JBoss has a CLI if you want to SSH into the machine, but I'll just go ahead and use the management console here to do this. The first thing we need to do, like every Java E or Jakarta EE app, in order to use databases, we need a data source. So I'll go ahead and create a data source. In order to do that, I need to deploy a database driver. So in this case, we'll use the Postgres driver, and we can do that simply by dragging and dropping onto the EAP console here. I will drag and drop the Postgres driver that I downloaded from the Postgres site and give it a name of just PostgreSQL for simplicity, and it's enabled, and I'll click Finish. So that's deployed now. After we have the database driver, now we need to create a data source. To do this from the EAP management console, I will click on Configuration and click on Subsystems, Data Sources and Drivers. You can see the Postgres database driver I've already installed here, but I do need to create a data source which links my application to that driver and ultimately to the database. So I'll click on the plus, add data source. I'll choose my Postgres type, give it a name that the application is expecting, and give it the super secret fancy Jindy name. And click Next. Driver, module, and class names are correct. And then the connection URL, which I can get from the resource page on Azure. So if I click on connection strings here, a number of different strings that have been blurred out for privacy, but they are copy and pastable. So I'll take the JDBC string, copy that into my connection URL here, change the placeholders to the proper names of the name of the database, the user and password I specify down below, so I don't need that. But I do need the SSL mode to be turned on, as that is required by Azure by default. Username is going to be SA at the name of the database, and then the password is the same one I specified when I was setting it up. Just type that in here, and then click Next. And I should be able to, oh, I didn't need to repeat that. I'm not using security domains in this app, so we'll leave that one blank. Click Next, click Test Connection, and I get a connection successful test. So my data source is complete. I can see the data source now here, and now I'm ready to deploy my application. To deploy the application, as I said, there's a number of different ways, but the easiest and simplest way is through the management console. So if I just simply click on deployment, just like I did with the Postgres driver, I can also deploy applications in the same way. So I'll just click on Upload Deployment. I'm going to drag and drop my pre-created application that I built, my Jakarta EE application that I built with Maven, and it's going to go ahead and upload that. I've called it root.war so that it ends up in the root context, so I don't have to give a context path when I'm typing the URL. So I'll just go ahead and click Finish. That'll take a few seconds to upload and process. Okay, it looks like it's done here, so I can see the deployment here. I can actually visit the deployment if I go to the same host name here, but instead of 9990, I'll just go to 8080. I should get my application up and running. So here's my application up and running. You can see it's a retail site, as I mentioned earlier, with inventory and prices and locations and inventory counts. I can add things to my cart. I can go to my cart. I can check out. I can check out again. And you know, it's a standard retail thing here. So let's just check the database just to ensure things are happening as expected. So go back here. I'll go and look at the database. So I'll relog in here, but instead of DB name of Postgres, I'll use School Store and same password. And I can dump the tables, and you can see now I have a number of different tables here. I can actually do a quick Sql join here, and you can kind of see what I did here. I standard select inner join to show the tables here with the names of the items, their prices, their locations, and the quantity remaining. I can also do interesting things like change the database and pick up the changes. So if I check this out, this Quarkus shirt is $10. I'll go ahead and update that. I'll set it to $100 instead of $10. So I'll just issue this update command, go back here and reload, and you can see now the Quarkus shirt down here is now $100. So this is an example of a application deployed to EAP running on Azure through the Azure Marketplace offering and using Azure resources like the Azure Postgres database that we're using. So I hope you enjoyed the demo.